All right. We're back for another episode of the Bad Ideas podcast with Su Belagodu. How'd I do?
Perfect.
Really?
Just like we practiced.
We didn't even practice though. That's like the first time. That's the first thing. I was like, we didn't practice the name.
Great.
So you're the product Maven, which I dubbed you because you help tons and tons and tons of companies. Tell us the backstory. How'd you get into it? What have you
Yeah,
done? Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. I like that. I like that tag. I'm going to use it. Um,
Well
so
deserved.
I'm trained technically. So I'm a computer science graduate. And then I started off, as everybody, as a software engineer who come from computer science background. I used to ask a lot of questions. So one of my managers early on said, "You know what? You're very curious about how the end user uses our product, not so much about how to fine tune your code. You deserve to be in product." And that kind of set that thought, put that thought in my mind. And that's how I got started.
Mhm.
And so I moved to product management and I worked many years as a product manager. And then I went to this company where they said, yeah, you're a great product person. We'd like you to start an advisory services because you're also very good at starting practices and then growing them. This was a CTO I'd worked with earlier. And
Yeah.
he said, why don't you do this for me? He was a co founder of a company. So I built the advisory practice there, which is how I got started on working with startups.
Mhm.
And that was it. Like I was hooked. I loved working with people with great ideas or bad ideas, because ideas are ideas. And then, kind of growing them from that idea to MVP is a good balance of science and art. So
Mhm.
it combined both of my passions. I think in about a year, the department grew to about 7 advisors, and we had launched about 8 startups,
There you go.
or helped 8 startups launch. And that was it. I was like, this is my space. I love it. And
Mhm.
that's how I got started. And at present, I do it as an independent consultant.
Mhm.
In between those two, I even tried my hand as a co founder of a startup myself.
Sure.
A lot of lessons from that as well, and
Lots of
maybe
good
another
ideas.
time. Lot of ideas about what to do next time or how to
All
do it
right.
right next time.
All right.
So that's how I got started. The more and more product became a cool thing very recently.
Yeah.
But there have been people like me who've been doing that for the past 15, 17 years now.
Mhm.
And, it just continues to get popular, but the work is still the same and it's still very exciting. And now with AI, it has brought about changes and good changes. So that's how I guess I came about to become a product maven, as you said. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, so for people who don't know, those who are watching, like how do you define product management? Like where does it sit in the org?
so
What does it
many
do?
so
Yeah.
many disciplines. There are so many ways to get to being a product person. There's
Mhm.
people like me who come from a technical background, so you're very good at understanding the business, you're very good at understanding technology that you use to build for those businesses. So
Mhm.
product manager in those scenarios lands up becoming this person who is the tissue connecting technology and business.
Mhm.
But there are people that come from a design background and you understand user research better. You understand how users interact with systems better. And those product people are more, usability centric or design centric. So,
Mhm.
but essentially, it's building an application that your end users or customers would want to use, helping define the business, what problems to solve and when to solve them. The how to solve them comes from engineering. So
Mm.
products always helping define the why and the what.
Mhm.
So if you are a person who cares about the why and the what, then you deserve to
Product is
be
where you go.
product. Yeah.
All right. I really like that the tissue that connects the business to the technology. That's a really
Yeah.
good definition that I haven't heard that often because I think um, remember what 5 6 years ago project management was like everyone was a project manager, like a senior
Yes.
project manager, and then there was the PMP certification, which is a real thing. But like all of a sudden, everyone had that on their LinkedIn profile. And fast forward 3 years now, half those people are product managers, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
product, what's the difference? Is it
It's
just the
one of
name?
those roles that blended with the other roles, right? Like project
Mm-hmm.
management was very much there, which meant you were really good at keeping teams in check, keeping schedules in check, making sure people you're working with but then don't really report to you are doing their jobs well. Like that's essentially project management and program management, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you do that, as you work with these different teams, you also start to understand the business and you understand technology. So you are becoming a product person
Mm-hmm.
eventually. So I think program managers, project managers, designers, all of them kind of came together to become product or the
Mm-hmm.
product people. And yeah, absolutely, there was PMPs and project managers, and then everybody was like, what's a product manager, what's a product owner, what's a scrum master? So
Yeah.
as and when different frameworks come into market about,
Poof. That's
yeah,
new.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are new, the new thing is AI product manager. And the big question is, what is an AI product manager? Well,
Mm.
someone who understands AI technologies out there and can apply it in your business to solve problems. The same
Mm.
thing. Like at the core, you're still you still have the same skills, but now you have different tools that you can use to do it.
Well, it seems like you have a different outlook too. So let me run this by you to see if it sounds accurate. Um, could you say that like project management is managing to a deliverable and product management is managing to a goal? Is that really the difference? And
Mm,
the reason that's landing in my head is because you're talking a lot about understanding the business.
yeah.
So a product manager is looking more towards like what is the company trying to achieve by using this technology? How do I change it to help us as a collective do that better? Versus like a project manager might complete a task under the product manager, for example, to help along that way. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
I have a slightly different view on this. I think
Yeah.
these titles matter or depends on how a company defines activities and roles and responsibilities. For example, if you're doing Scrum, uh, as you know, Agile Scrum, then a project manager is now a product owner, and they're
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing. They're working towards short-term deliverables that will then bubble up to the company goal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they also do that. Um, so I think the difference probably is if you're executing on something that's very predictable, like how work was executed maybe, I don't know, like a decade ago, where they would first do all the planning and then do all the designing and then do all the execution, or in highly regulated environments even today, right? So those would require project managers and program managers. Like I can think of biotech as an example. Like clinical research cannot be a creative pursuit. Like you need program project management skills where you are making sure these trials are getting tested at the right time, the teams are working
Mm-hmm.
on a schedule against a specific goal. They still work in those phases. But if you are working for a creative company or like a SaaS company that's building something that can solve user problems, but it's also has the it's not so deeply regulated,
Mm-hmm.
then those sort of companies have now migrated towards product development and
Mm-hmm.
not just like project delivery. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on the type of company, and which is why when people say I'm a project manager, I don't know if I can do product, I'm like, let's talk about your skills, because it's your skills that should define your title and not the other way around.
Yeah.
You know? You know what I
Interesting.
mean?
That's a quote. We're stealing that one from you. Okay. All right. Well, back to your past. Any highlights? Any projects or products
Products.
you've worked on that you're super proud of? That was a lot of
Oh
fun.
my goodness. Listen, I'm proud of every single one of them, even if they
Hmm.
bombed. sometimes, and didn't do well. But particularly, I think for me, the turning point was working with really passionate visionary founders,
Mhm.
right? So I'm very passionate about representation and mission driven companies. And so when I worked with founders like that, they coincidentally have been in healthcare.
Mhm.
And there was one company that I worked for that was based out of UPenn as a like a university
Mhm.
innovation project, and they were building applications or products that was pretty simple, in the sense they were building tools to help community health workers,
Mhm.
and that really resonated with me. And so here, and the CEO, she was super mission driven and one of the brightest minds I've met. And then there was another product which was about mental health, which was
Mhm.
based on improving employee mental health and well-being.
Mhm.
um, I don't know if I'm at liberty to take her name or what they did, but there's this really uh, accomplished person who'd written books about this and wanted to translate books into an learning and development application.
Mhm.
And that was super thrilling because now, whatever techniques she had described in her books, we were going to convert that to micro learnings. And
Mhm.
then we gamified it. Like, if you've ever, accessed Noom or any of those
Yeah.
applications, they or Duolingo, right? They gamify it where they say, today you learn these skills, and then this door opens up, and here's the key for it, that sort of a thing. But essentially, they were micro learning skills to manage stress at work.
Mhm.
So there were those two products. And of course, I think the company that I was the co founder of, Context QA, will always be dear to me because
Mhm.
while the industry was still talking about AI agents, we were already building and testing AI agents.
Mhm.
And everything I had learned about SaaS kind of went out the window when it came to AI native product. Even not just building it, but even go to market. There were so many models and frameworks you can use to sell a SaaS product, but an AI native product was like, nah, I'm my own different beast. You can
Mhm.
use these frameworks on me. So that experience was a standout for me as well. So yeah, I think if I look back, it's the ones that have had a strong mission, or the ones like Context QA, where cutting edge technology, still trying out how to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not, the rules are not set, so you're figuring out as you go. So I think those kinds of experiences.
I think that's the most fun too, when the rules aren't set, because then you're not really worried so much about a structure. You're focused on, like, I do
Let's just
anything
get
I
it
can
done,
to
and
create
how.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they
Uh,
teach you the most too. Like, those
yeah.
ones really teach you big lessons.
It's almost like direct market feedback. Like, instead of quarantined
Absolutely.
or curated market feedback, like the market's not there yet. So anything you get is brand new, which is
Right,
fun.
right. And it's also understanding what is noise and then what is true feedback, because no
Hmm.
one knows. And then one thing I learned is any new technology like AI, we're still, it's still the beginning. I don't
Hmm.
think, oh, we've matured as an industry. It's still the beginning. Educating the users and buyers was such a big part of the go to market
Well,
plan.
still is, right?
It
Just
still is.
people
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
understand.
The delivering value, or expressing what your product brings to market, or what value
Hmm.
it brings to you, was definitely, a learning.
Yeah. Well, it's valuable expertise. We're going to have to dig into AI a little more. I'm secretly hoping that our bad idea today is AI focused so we can, but we don't know what it is. So now might be a good time to reveal it. What do you think?
This is so exciting. I haven't done anything like this where you would reveal the topic on the call and say, "What do you think?" But it's, oh yeah, I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what it is.
Let's see. I'm really fingers crossed it's AI related because you've brought it up and we haven't talked about it yet. So if it's not, we're going to have to pretend it's AI related.
We'll
It,
see. Maybe it'll prove a point that not all problems can be solved with AI.
well, it's not AI related. So our bad idea for
Okay.
today is terrible. It's App Nap Enforcer, a
App.
mobile app that
Okay.
detects when you're using your phone past bedtime and locks you out for a mandatory 8 hour digital nap with no override option.
Who put you up against this, Nick? Did you speak to my husband or my kids?
Oh, really? Are you on your phone too much?
I
Maybe you're the target demo for this.
I am the target audience for this. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Could you say that again? Can you repeat that
It,
title and
so,
what it is again?
yeah, so the name was App Nap Enforcer. And it's a mobile app that detects when you're using your phone past bedtime and locks you out for a mandatory 8 hour digital nap with no override option.
Interesting. Very interesting. I don't think it's a bad idea uh, by itself, but is that a good idea to build an entire app and a company around it? That'd be something worth talking about. Because for me, I think this falls under, you can fall under value based care. It's like your physician's office
Get off your
insisting, you
phone.
know what,
Yeah.
after Epic, like this has an extension for my chart which says, hey, you have to activate this on your phone if you want to have a good life. uh, but yeah, the idea is good, but let's start digging into it. I wonder, like, you've spoken to so many people. Do people use frameworks to kind of
Yeah.
dissect this?
Yeah. Everyone kind of has their own, and that's usually a good place to start. Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's start with, are we thinking about just the idea as a company, right? As a standalone company, as a product company?
Yeah.
Should we build something around it? Okay. So, what would be, let's come up with what would be the mission? What are we trying to do with this
Oh, there's a
idea?
very clear mission, right? To separate people from digital stimulus, right? Force an
Okay.
8 hour disconnect per day.
Okay. And so we are in the business of doing good. And okay. So that's a pretty strong mission. Usually,
Yeah.
something that benefits people is a good mission. So, what's our vision? Where do we want to take this idea and company? And
Human beings with social skills again. That's the vision.
I love I love that. Yeah. So, to ensure that we don't land up being another Black Mirror episode
Hmm.
where it's freaky. Yeah, I like the vision and mission, right? It's very human centered. It's going to impact a lot of people. So, our addressable market is essentially everybody with a mobile phone. And because the whole question about, do people really need reminders, or is everybody really addicted to the phone? Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's no sub market there. There's essentially everybody with a phone. So that's fantastic. Um, and then the only thing that I think we have to think about is, will people want a separate app for it? Wouldn't it be better if their phones automatically did it?
That was a big discussion on our last episode. Is it a feature or a product on its own?
Mm.
Um, here's my thinking. So my mind always goes to the ecosystem first,
Hmm.
and this is because I made the stupid decision to pursue a career in growth. And when you read about how to do growth, you get sucked into blogs written by people who want you to buy their services doing growth, and they don't actually tell you. Anyone who's looked up how to generate leads has probably encountered hundreds of these. One pro tip from someone who's made all the bad mistakes: if it says how to generate leads, it doesn't tell you how to generate leads. You are the lead. Um, but going back to growth, ecosystem is the only way to get something off the ground without spending millions in ad dollars
Mm-hmm.
right away.
Mm-hmm.
And what's beautiful is ecosystems exist without ad dollars. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can find a way to be valuable to them, you can unlock access to the ecosystem. In this case, the ecosystem is Google Play and the App Store, and both those ecosystems thrive on attention. So if you
Mm,
release an app that eliminates attention for 30% of the day, you're taking away 30% of
from
their
them.
market access.
Yeah.
So my entrepreneur brain is like, okay, how do I make it valuable to them?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're going to get them to approve this, because they're going to ban it otherwise, like there's no way this gets, you cut me
Yeah.
off? No, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So how do you make it valuable to them? Because if you do, then they become a channel for you. Because I'm sure they're thinking like you, and they're like, well, if this is successful, we'll just make it a feature, and roll
Yeah.
it out. Do you see any avenues there? Do you see any potential there?
Yeah, certainly. But how do we make it valuable to them is a big question. Because, well, they could promote it as we care about you, and we give, as long as we give the user the the control over configuring it, because bedtime could be different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
We could, it could be such that it's not just cold turkey, like it just doesn't shut things off, but then tells you, hey, you know what, 2 more minutes, 5 more minutes, just like how we do with little kids. So that's what psychologists say. Don't just grab things away from them, give them a heads up, let them prepare mentally for it. So those kinds are nice to have configurations, could be a good add-on for a phone. um, I know initially I said something about this is for everybody with a phone, but is there a demographic that truly cares about not being on the phone or having these controls? And I almost feel like adults sometimes overestimate the amount of self control they have, right?
Sometimes.
I was being nice. So, what if this is targeted towards all of the accounts that's below, between 13 and 18 or something like that? So, that demographic where there's still some parental controls, and there are proven benefits for why they should turn off their phones or not have
Mhm.
them with them after bedtime. And I think we could also say that it kind of brings about peace of mind at home, because you're not fighting your kid to give up the phone. Like, if the phone doesn't work after a certain time, what are they going to do with it? Like, use it as a pillow? Like, what would they do with it?
Use your
Right.
phone. um,
What do you think? Like, would that limit our market?
I
Or
really I like the children's idea. I was thinking about the parent as a channel,
Hmm,
but also the second parents recommend something, kids are gonna be like, I don't want to do it because mom said I have to do it.
yes.
Um, but I was thinking more ecosystem.
Hmm.
Um, two bad ideas popping into my head. One, um, everything on your phone is about capturing attention. Like Google and Apple don't sell hardware; they sell attention.
Yeah.
That's the focus of their business, which is why like the App Store pays them 30% because they want to make money every time you're using anything on the phone. They sell
Yeah.
attention. There's an argument to be made that by locking people out for 8 hours, because they're going to sleep at some point. Most people sleep 6 7 hours, so you're only locking them out an additional hour. But the mental effect of knowing that your phone is locked over that period probably significantly increases your usage for a period of time after the phone unlocks. Like if you can't get back
Ah.
in, even if it's only been an hour, and even if you were sleeping for like most of that time, your
Hmm.
usage right when you log back in is going to be super high. So
Hmm.
there's an argument to be made that it's almost like an experiment. Like, let us run this. You have full control. You can ban it if it doesn't work. But we think the users that use our app are going to be even more engaged when they are using the phone,
Hmm.
provided they have like a healthy lockout that we enforce. Um,
Hmm.
the other idea that popped up when you said children was, um, I think the health industry is very interested in like understanding sleep patterns and activity patterns of young folks. So you can almost set it up so if kids install the app, they get paid
Hmm.
to participate in the lockout.
Like a
And then
sleep study. Hmm.
yeah, but just a behavior study. Like
Yeah.
then the investigator can lock the phone whenever they want to and figure out like how people behave or something like that. But that
Hmm.
then the ecosystem is paying for it. It's not because I don't think a user would pay for this. It's more like I'll just put my phone in a box and that's locked. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was while you were talking about the ecosystem, I was thinking more about what problem are we trying to solve and for whom, right? So if the problem we're trying to solve is for our end users themselves so they can live a better quality life
Mhm.
and set boundaries for themselves that the gadgets that they use in their lives uh, enable them to, then there are end users, but will they pay for something like that? So that's not the problem we are trying to solve then. Now if
Well, it is. But here's a discussion point.
hmm,
Can you solve the problem directly? Does your action point always have to directly address your problem? Like Apple, for example, we established it's an attention company, but they
hmm,
make phones.
hmm,
So like,
very interesting, what would that be for this?
well,
So
it's that do good. Like we're trying to improve quality of life by letting
mm,
people realize that all the beautiful stuff you see on your phone is in front of you. It's just captured on the
yeah,
phone.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a compelling point.
Mhm.
We have a strong reason to solve it. um, is there anything unique about the way we do it? I think that will be key, because what is stopping other companies or other phone companies to do this themselves,
Nothing.
right? uh,
Nothing.
yeah, to speaking of frameworks, one of the frameworks that I've adopted is
Mhm.
from Netflix's ex VP of product.
Mhm.
His name is Gib Biddle, and his framework is called DHM.
Mhm.
And D stands for delight your customers. Will
Mhm.
what you're bringing to market delight your customers? Yes, it might not delight our, if it's the younger generation, it might not delight them, but it delights the users, or at
But if
least
they get paid, do you
if they
think
get
kids?
paid,
If kids could,
yes.
yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. So check for delight the customers. Is it hard to copy? H stands for, is it hard to copy? It is not. So if the solution itself is not hard to copy, then is building that ecosystem hard to copy, or distribution hard to copy? Where
Yeah,
can we
for
have a
sure.
hard to copy advantage?
The ecosystem for sure. Once they're
Right.
in, yeah.
And the M stands for, does it have margins? Like, does it have high margins? And, will it,
It's an app.
um, it's an app, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And given the size of the market, right? Like we said, essentially everybody who has a phone. So that's a large TAM right there. So I think it checks all the boxes. The thing we want to double click on is, what is our unique proposition? If the solution is not unique, then how do we go about making this unique? Can we get, what do you say? Can we get exclusivity with the phones?
Mhm.
Like Apple or Google. I would think Apple and Android are the two big ones. Um, what other ways can we get an advantage here? Because if not, then I'll tell you why it's important. Because even if the other two checks out, the reason I wouldn't make it a product and then try it just as a feature would be, if we don't have a unique way of solving this problem, then it's not worth the effort, because
Mhm.
somebody else with a lot more money and funding and smarts, maybe, but still funding and back, could
Yeah.
do it themselves, or the phone companies themselves could do it. So I want to see what you think about the unique aspect of this. Like, where can we get creative?
Well, just like 8 seconds ago, you gave us the quote of the show, which is without a unique way to solve this, we don't have a business.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the mission of Bad Ideas to show that the way you do everything is the value in your business.
Yeah.
Because an idea without a way is nothing. The way is everything, and I don't think we spend enough time talking about the ways, which fortunately we get to do with you here today. Um, I
Yeah.
think that's exactly where this stands. I think it's a copycat app. I'm sure someone could build this in a day.
Yeah.
There need to be some permissions from Apple to shut down and lock the phone, but they could build the general app and settings in a day, and there's frameworks they could slap together to make it happen. The value in building the business is in the way that you distribute it. So that's why you work with an ecosystem. You work with Apple and
Right.
Google. You work with healthcare companies that can
Sleep
kind of
labs,
sponsor you.
you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Um, so like the way that it gets out there
Yeah.
is what makes it different and unique. And
Yeah.
I think social networks are a great example of this. It's like very, very similar architecture, very similar engagement, but they each
Yeah.
have kind of a different way they position themselves and deliver value, and that
Yeah.
makes the business.
Absolutely. And I think there's also some value in personalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're getting now is everything is so hyper personalized, but also it's not just looking at one data point. It's not just looking at your sleep quality. What if we could combine the sleep quality based on, other health metrics that we can gather from your phone usage, like how many steps or how many stairs, but collectively if it can give you like a health score, or if it can tell
Mm-hmm.
you, um, or habit tracking, like what can we combine so we can deliver more value,
Hmm.
and not just one data point, which is sleep, which is what our app does. So I think another thing that's equally important is
Yeah.
partnerships. Like how can we integrate and partner? I know ecosystems falls under the
Same
same
thing. Yeah.
theme of things, but I'm also thinking about technical integration with some of
Mm-hmm.
the other supporting metrics that could tell a
Yeah.
much better story collectively than just what you're trying to do with your product.
Yeah.
And I've always seen that when you offer personalization, and when you make people imagine, imagine we log into Prime on our Samsung TV, and it tells you, hey, on Prime, you have to buy this for $3 because whatever, there's subscription within subscriptions, which is the most annoying thing these days.
Yeah.
um, but I see you also have Netflix on installed on your Samsung TV, where this is free. Do you want to go watch it there?
Mhm.
It just solved so many problems for me. I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about going and subscribing to something within, and I don't have to worry about it. Just saved me time because I didn't have to look through all of them. So put that in, if you take that example and compare it to what we are trying to do, having that context about, okay, here's your sleep patterns, and what does that tell, what does that tell you about your habit tracking abilities, or how well you're
Yeah.
sleeping, or
Like a contrast report that shows you when the app is on, here's how much different your day looks. Like you walk
mm,
2,000 more steps, you spend X fewer hours on your phone.
yeah.
You are around these people more frequently. Creepy, but like
Yeah,
maybe
that
something
would
like
be
that.
fantastic, right?
Hmm.
Like, can you think of? I would love for it to tie up with Wordle, because every single person these days wakes up and they do their Wordles. And you say the days this app was turned on, you cracked your Wordle in 2 attempts, and because your brain was sharper,
Yeah,
or something like that.
yeah,
So,
that's
without
interesting.
getting into specifics of how we can take this so-called bad idea and solve it, I think what you and I both are trying to say is that the idea by itself could be ordinary, but then you can make it extraordinary by building a strong ecosystem and, delivering personalized value to
Hmm.
our users.
Hmm.
And that's a pretty compelling sell, hopefully, to, phones and companies that would use that.
Hmm.
Um, Think about even the healthcare companies that care about how many hours of REM sleep did they get, and
Yeah,
that is only useful if you can tell how that impacted the rest of their day or the other activities. So, thinking about all that, I don't think it's a bad idea, Nick. Or
You
you
like
and
it?
I are super confident that we can,
Well,
we can build as
I'm
long as we
confident
know
in
how
you. I'm confident in you. I think if it were on me, I just keep coming up with bad ideas and not doing anything with them. But this is fascinating. I think thank you for walking us through your framework and really workshopping this one. And I think you took us to a place where you could kind of decide what you feel about the idea. And I think the best part about this conversation is that all the discussion was the meat of it. Like the idea itself was just a spark. You decided whether or not it was good based on
Yeah,
how the pieces that you really created like influenced your perspective of it, which is really how every business works.
absolutely. And that's product strategy. Like, that's one thing we didn't touch
That's what they
upon.
do. That's
That
what they do.
strategy,
Yeah.
which is figuring out what that idea is and then how you want to build it and grow it. And, I said product management is all about focusing on the right things. And this is exactly that is focusing on building this ecosystem rather than just the idea.
Mm.
But yeah, thank you. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Now I know even after the call, I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about what were some things about that idea that would not have worked that we did not talk about.
Right. People would go nuts if their phone was locked. The customer service on that app would be brutal. But I wanted to say we went through this whole conversation and didn't bring up AI at all. So that's
Mhm.
going to be our hook because that's your superpower. We talked about product management, but you're very much in like the hottest space in technology,
Yeah.
and you're right in the startup ecosystem of all of this. So that's going to be my call to action. If people want to get in touch with someone who knows the AI space and can apply this reasoning to intelligent applications, you're the
Yeah.
one. How do they get in touch with you? How do they find you?
Thanks, Nick. I want to say AI is a tool to do what you're doing more efficiently.
Hmm.
It is not a replacement for human thinking, at
Yeah,
least as of now. I mean,
yeah.
it's evolving quickly, but at least as of now. How should people get in touch? Thank you for asking. I think LinkedIn right now is the best place to go. I am, and for the first time, I think I'm officially saying it, building something on my own.
Yeah.
And I will have more details about how to get in touch with me. But yeah, I love working with people with ideas and startups, as I said, and companies. So LinkedIn is where I do most of my business. So
Awesome. We'll get a link out to you.
absolutely.
And
Thank
people, we recommend the audience to reach out and ask you, tell us about AI, and that's the conversation starter. You can finish the show with them
you.
live.
Yes, absolutely. I recently did a webinar on human in the loop. And
Mhm.
what that meant is how do you build systems keeping a human in the loop with AI, building
Mhm.
those hybrid solutions. I can share, there are articles that I've written about it
Yeah.
that's also on LinkedIn. So check it out. And if you have any ideas, thoughts, or questions, please
Especially bad ones.
engage.
All right.
Especially bad ones,
All right. Well,
because
thank you
there's
so
no such
much.
thing as a bad idea.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Awesome to have you here. This was tons of fun.
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you for having me. And it's been so long since I did something impromptu. This was great fun. Thanks.